Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. So, I've got a couple of stories to talk about today. Number one is what's going on with the Strait of Hormuz. 1 minute it's open, next minute it's closed, next minute it's open again, next minute it's closed. So, what the hell is going on? I'll probably try and explain it. And there's also another serious issue happening along the Taiwan Strait. The Japanese ship went through it in a very aggressive manner, and the Chinese are not happy about it. So I'm going to be discussing Japan. I wanted to discuss this in my last video, but didn't have time, so I'll go into more detail. And what should China do about it? So let's start with Iran first of all. So it's been a crazy couple of days, guys. I mean, 1 minute Trump was sending out messages saying the strait is open. He was saying that this is called the Strait of Iran. He says the negotiations were going very well and Iran agreed to everything, all of the Americans' demands. Obviously, nobody believed him. But the funny thing was, even though nobody believed him, um, Professor Saeed Morandi, who speaks for Iran on many channels, he sent this message out. He said the opening of the Strait of Hormuz is not unrestricted and comes with three conditions. Only commercial ships allowed to pass, and belligerent parties are not permitted to transit. It's talking about obviously Israel. The management and determination of which ship pass lies with Iran. The transit occurs only via route designated by Iran. So he sent this message, and the markets immediately thought that there was some sort of deal that went on between America and Iran. I mean, why would Saeed send this message? And it was also sent by the foreign minister of Iran as well. Very similar message. So the world thought that there's probably some sort of deals happening behind the scenes, and then all these ships started moving towards the exit of the strait, and they were moving freely. So people were asking questions, including me. Is Iran still charging tolls because of this message? Because it doesn't say they are charging any tolls. Well, they're also not denying it either. I admit that. They're not, neither confirming it or denying it, whether they are charging tolls or not. But the fact is, Saeed said only commercial ships are allowed to pass. It doesn't really say whether they are charging tolls or not. So a lot of people are asking, if they are not charging tolls, then it sounds like Iran has surrendered or capitulated to the American demands. And then Trump was starting to send some messages on his Truth Social saying that Iran's agreed to all of America's demands, including they're not going to, support the Houthis and Hezbollah and Hamas. They are going to give up all their enrichment, and it's going to be arriving in USA. He also said that they're going to be opening up the Strait of Hormuz. Basically all of the demands. It's almost like Iran had surrendered and gave in to American demands. So obviously it doesn't sound right. So all these ships were passing through the strait, and then suddenly they were all asked to turn back by the IRGC. And it's really funny because Trump 1 minute says the Strait of Hormuz is open and safe thanks to the powerful US Navy. And then suddenly IRGC sent a message saying, we don't open the strait because of some tweets by an idiot. Obviously, he's referring to Trump. But he's also referring to, I believe, the foreign minister as well. I mean, that's what a lot of people were saying. I think because the foreign minister said that the strait was open and all these ships started moving. And this is why the ships were moving, because they don't really believe what Trump says. But if it came from the Iranian foreign minister, it must have meant something. And suddenly all these ships started moving. The price of oil went down. It went down like $20 immediately. And things were looking really good. The market was going up. This was on a Friday, guys. So things were looking very, very good. And and then suddenly I heard this morning two Indian ships were about to pass, and the Iranian Navy started firing at the Indian ships. And the Indian ship had some Indians in it, and they were basically crying with the Indian accent, saying, "Oh, don't shoot at us, don't fire at us. We are going back, we are going back, do not fire at us." And I think one of the ships got attacked and blown up. It was absolutely mayhem, guys. Absolute mayhem. So all these ships that were trying to pass the strait had to go all the way back again, and it was all back to square one. And then it's gone from Trump saying everything is sorted, everything's agreed. Then Trump started sending all these truth social posts, going on all these interviews saying America has won. America will keep the strait blocked for Iranian ships, and he was just basically starting to pretend that America had won the war. And I think that's what's caused IRGC and Iran to basically change their minds. And also, you have Israel still bombing Lebanon as well. So obviously, that didn't go down too well. So I think it's because of Trump's tweets, guys, that Iran and or IRGC changed their minds. I think they were going to allow the strait to be open. I think negotiations were going well. But I think because Trump opened his big mouth and started saying Iran surrendered, Iran's capitulated, America's going to get everything, Iran's going to get nothing, we're going to keep the strait closed, we're going to get the tolls, and Iran has agreed not to, give money to Hezbollah or weapons. Iran's agreed to give all the uranium to America. All these lies basically. And Iran basically got really, because they're a proud civilization, guys. These, Iranians have been around for 5,000 years, since the beginning of time. So they're not going to listen to some Trump, guy who's basically who comes from a civilization. It's probably not even a couple of 100 years old. So, so that's where we are, guys. I think right now the strait is closed, and we might be heading into war again. Well, the thing is, America cannot afford it. I mean, I heard this morning, even in a Trump press conference he just did an hour ago or 2 hours ago, and he said that he might need to increase the tariffs again on all the countries. So that's going to cause a huge impact to the markets, and countries, are just going to move away from the dollar, and they're just not going to trade with America anymore because it's just not worth trading with America. It's not worth making tariff deals with America, because Trump will wake up one day and starts increasing the tariffs. So that's coming to all the countries, and I think he will go to war with Iran again for Israel. He also sent a tweet out today that how much he loves Israel as well. He sent a tweet out saying, "Oh, Israel's America's greatest ally," blah blah blah. He just this guy is such a shill for Israel, guys. So yeah, we are probably looking at some war that might happen next few days. The latest is I'm seeing lots of plane movements, troop movements. There's a lot of activity going on in Diego Garcia. I think they might be starting to do some more bombing raids. China has apparently sent some planes to Iran in the last 48 hours. Some supplies, medical supplies, could also be military supplies as well. We don't know yet. But yeah, we're looking at starting round three very soon, guys. These guys are not going to stop. America and Israel are not going to stop. They want Iran's natural resources. And they want Iran much more now because they've seen how much Iran has control over the Hormuz Strait. And they cannot allow Iran to have this much power, have this much control of the Hormuz Strait. And now that they've seen that, Iran can control the Strait, can make a lot of money out of it, I think they will want to get Iran even more. And they'll want to attack Iran now rather than later. Because right now, Iran, is still, he might have lots of missile capacity, but he's still not strong enough. He doesn't have an air force. Like they still haven't got the planes from Russia and China, so they don't have a real proper air force yet. Um, and yeah, there's still a lot of, Iran is not a superpower yet. They've been a country under huge sanctions over the past 50 years. So they've still got a long way to go. They're not a developed country by any means. And they feel that the longer they wait, the stronger Iran is going to get because they're going to get a lot of money from the oil and gas. They're going to get a lot of money from the tolls in the Strait of Hormuz. And so they're not going to want that. They're going to want to attack Iran sooner rather than later. So that's my big worry, guys. Anyway, let's go back to the other thing I wanted to talk about, which is Japan. So Japan has been sending some, aggressive provocations along the Chinese Taiwan Strait, and I gotta say this, guys. I mean, I said this before in another video, but if there is any war along the Taiwanese Strait, it's not going to be with Taiwan. It's going to be definitely Japan. And I'll tell you what, Japan is starting to act very, very aggressive to China, and it's only a matter of time before Japan suddenly announces they are a nuclear power, or you know, and they've got full support of the West, by the way, by America, the G7. They've got full support, and they've got all the technology. They know they have all the scientists that can make nuclear weapons. They just haven't done it because obviously America is stopping them. But now that Japan has seen that America is pretty much useless, it doesn't really help its allies. America's military is on its way down. I think Japan is going to be looking at things like nuclear weapons, basically. China cannot allow Japan to rearm, and China cannot allow Japan to have nuclear weapons. So, so here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. I think that, look, this is a bit controversial, but I think China needs to take Taiwan as soon as possible, not to wait for a peaceful reunification, because we don't know how long that's going to take. And the reason is, I don't think China has much time anymore because you have Japan who is arming itself, and China cannot make the same mistake as they did with the Qing dynasty. During the Qing dynasty, China had the biggest navy in the world, and on paper, they were very, very powerful. But they allowed Japan to arm itself. They allowed Japan to basically get lots of weapons, build up its military, arm itself. And one day, out of nowhere, Japan basically did a surprise attack and destroyed all of China's, or not all of it, but most of it, of their navy. And that obviously started the, Japanese invasion of China. And, it led to the 100-year humiliation and stuff like that. And they killed over uh, millions of Chinese they've killed, over the years, including the genocide of Nanjing. So China cannot allow Japan, to arm itself. So I've been thinking long and hard about this, and I've been thinking that maybe if China takes Taiwan by force, this will allow Japan to join the war. And if Japan joins the war and starts to attack China, for example, it will give China an excuse to basically hit Japan really, really hard and destroy their whole military. But if China waits for a peaceful solution with Taiwan, you're basically allowing Japan to rearm itself, and the longer you wait, I mean, it could be, Japan are very, very, very strong at the moment, and if it could be another few years, or maybe even less than that, they might just announce quickly that they are a nuclear power. They might be doing secret nuclear tests underground. Who knows? But they just cannot allow Japan to rearm itself and become a nuclear power. So I think that, if China takes Taiwan by force, it will do three things which are very, very beneficial to China. Number one, it will draw in Japan, basically. I think Japan will attack China. They will do it because Americans will probably use them as a proxy and they will agree to it. And that will draw in Japan in a war with China, which Japan will lose very heavily. And if China, destroys Japan's whole military, that will basically put them back for over 100 years. They will not, you know, attack China for over 100 years. And then China will not allow any kind of Japan to be remilitarized. I think they will kick out the US bases as well from that region, because if the US gets involved, all the US bases will be destroyed. So that's one thing. The second thing that will do is, if they force reunification with Taiwan, that will also kick out all the pro-Japanese, separatists from Taiwan as well. So all of these pro-Japanese separatists will probably fight, or they will leave the country. Either way is good for China, and they can start Taiwan from the beginning. Basically, they can start a new government and with a new infrastructure project, rebuild Taiwan from the beginning. Because right now, Japan, Taiwan is completely like brainwashed with pro-Western, pro-Japanese propaganda, and all these pro-Japanese separatists everywhere. So China needs to get rid of these people, and the only way they can probably do that is by war. Because if they do it by peaceful means, these people will always cause trouble. They will always cause trouble. They will cause riots. They will cause lots of lots of trouble, because those people will stay behind, and they will, basically stop messing around. So I think that is a reason. And the third reason is, if China takes Taiwan by force, the Iran war has taught us one thing, that America is a paper tiger and is very, very weak when it comes to protecting its bases. So if this draws in American attacks, or if America tries to join in protecting Taiwan, this will give China a reason to start destroying all the US bases around China. So at the moment, there's over 100 US bases, cover surrounding China. There's around 8, 9 in Philippines. There's loads in Japan. There's loads in South Korea. There's loads in, obviously there's Guam and surrounding areas, Australia, um, all these other surrounding countries as well. There's bases everywhere surrounding China, basically. So this would give China a reason to start destroying these bases, just like Iran did. So you see in Iran how they destroyed all these bases around, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, and America couldn't protect them because they've got no Patriot missiles. So all these Patriot missiles have been moved from Asia onto Middle East. So this is a great opportunity to take out all the military bases, all the American military bases from these islands. And the only way they can do that is if they can draw America in. And the only way China can draw America in if they force reunification with the island of Taiwan. And I think those are the main reasons. I think long term, it would be very, very beneficial for China to do that. If they wait for the peaceful method, you're basically allowing Japan to rearm. You're basically allowing America to rearm as well, because in the next few years they're going to start, putting the Patriot missiles again, all these other building up the. They're going to obviously learn a lot of lessons from Iran, so they will heavily rearm those bases in Asia, and it will just make it more difficult. I mean, the best time to take Taiwan would be over the next year or two, and I believe this is the only way that we can, get rid of America from the region, and also to basically tame Japan. And if China wants to live in peace for the rest of its life, then this is what China needs to do. Otherwise, because if they allow more American bases to be surrounded China, and they're going to cause more trouble, they're never going to allow Taiwan to be, to basically rejoin um, China. They're going to push for independence, and they will also rearm Japan and make Japan stronger. So there's a lot of issues there. The only way I think China can live in peace is if they can get rid of all its American bases and to pick Japan once and for all. That's my thoughts, guys. And you might think, oh, he's not Chinese. How dare he, how dare he basically say we need to go to war with our brothers and sisters in Taiwan? Well, I'm not. I mean, look at the way Russia is fighting Ukraine. Russia sees Ukrainians as brothers and sisters, but you see the civilian toll is very, very low in the Ukraine war. And I think China, with the technology it has, it can keep civilian deaths very, very low. So only attacks will only be onto military sites. And China can also do special military operations inside the island of Taiwan, take out the leaders, similar to what America did with Maduro. And and you can see the way Iran has been fighting in the Middle East as well. They've destroyed a lot of American bases all across the Middle East, but there's hardly been any civilian deaths in Saudi Arabia, in Kuwait, Dubai. If you look at it, the civilian death toll is very, very low. And I think China can keep even lower with the technology that they have. So I wouldn't worry about any civilian deaths or major war, because anything with Taiwan is not gonna it's not gonna last too long. I think Taiwan will most likely give up once China basically does a blockade. If they do a blockade, Taiwan would lose food and access to energy very, very quickly, and they will have to give it. They will have to give up. And I doubt if America and Japan are stupid enough to join in. But if they do, then they'll get absolutely um, handed to them really, really severely. So that's my thoughts, guys. And you might think, oh, he's not Chinese. Why is he asking us to go to war? Well, I'll tell you what, guys. If China allows me to, I would happily enlist in the Chinese army and become a citizen if that was a way to do it. And I've had military training when I was younger. I did territorial army in UK, so I've got some training, and I'm sure I'm still kind of young and still active. And I will happily join the Chinese military if it means fighting Japan and keeping China safe. I've got no issues doing that, guys. Um, but yeah, one country I'll never fight for is Britain. I'll tell you that now. Anyway, that's all for now. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.